I hate it when people give me tea and it's like the temperature of the sun. Welcome back to another wonderful review of Wonderful Precure, episode 47. And today we have our New Year episode, which, again, similar to how we handled Christmas, this is supposed to be like Mayu and Yuki's first time experiencing this, specifically at Animal Town. And we start off with being unbelievably relatable. Like, Yuki is freezing. And she's like, why are we up this early? And I'm like, Queen, me too. I don't know why y'all were like, yeah, let's get up and see the sunrise at the beach. You could never. I would never allow this to happen. Friendships would end. Oh my god, Iroha being a morning person. Girl, not me. Not me. She's like, look at, we're getting our zoomies out. No, I would never. Go back to sleep. You're making me tired. You're making me tired looking at you. So Mayu comes in with the save. This is why this duo is like the best duo, because she's like, you know what I got? I got tea. But also like it's warm tea, but it's not overly piping hot because of Yuki's sensitive little tongue, which is me. I have a sensitive little tongue. I hate it when people give me tea and it's like the temperature of the sun. I'm like, my mouth is now burnt. It's just burnt. And they're like, you just can't handle hot tea. And I'm like, no, my mouth is burnt. I'm gonna be injured for a while. It's gonna take a while for this to go back to normal. So yes, I enjoy the experience of warm tea on a nice day as we watch the sun rise for the first time in the new year. This episode ends up being more of a medley episode for all of the people and things we've seen, as well as just a little bit of a showcasing of character improvement from the series, mostly between Komugi and Yuki. I feel like we've seen it before, especially like last episode and whatnot, but you just see more cute moments where they retain a little bit of who Yuki is, in which she's like got this competitive nature, and then we get to see the warmer side of that as well, which is I honestly think it's kind of nice that we're getting all this Yuki and Komugi moments, just because I feel like in the series there's been not too much of a need for these two characters to interact, so they kind of push them to have these interactions, and it's nice, it's cute, especially since I don't think there's ever really been a plot in this show that's demanded the two of them be the focal point. So I wouldn't have minded if they did an episode where the two of them like got trapped somewhere and it's just the two of them and they have to work together. I wouldn't have minded something like that. I kind of like bottle episodes that do things like that, but it is what it is, and time is fleeting. As part of our little medley of characters, we see Okuma, who talks about the fact that she's at the farm, and then mentions something. I was worried. I wasn't so much worried, but like, she's like, yeah, we had a calf born. And I was like, are we going to see the miracle of life? I mean, we've been talking about the miracle of death a little bit in the past few episodes. Are we about to see the miracle of life? But no, she just mentions in passing that a calf was born, and I was like, you know, I've seen that. Like, I haven't seen specifically cows, but I've seen a lot of foals be born. It is always interesting to see a full animal slide out of another one and then walk. Miracle life is somewhat terrifying, I'm not gonna lie to you. But nonetheless, the core of the episode is going to the shrine, as you do in Japanese culture for the new year, and just to see everybody there, see their little stands. We kind of hit a bunch of the different characters, mostly the students and the old ladies, and just are like, let's see them one last time as we go into this big finale. Also, a little reminder that it is the year of the snake, which I think it's kind of funny that, like, they don't try to be like, hooray, the year of the snake. They're just like, it's more of a matter of a fact. Because you have Yuki being like terrified of the snake, and then, you know, like last season the final boss was a snake, so like, snake doesn't have a good rap in the Precure universe. And then they, you know, we make a couple more jokes within this episode about like how it's Animal Town, therefore everything is animal themed. So you want something, you got an animal for it. Welcome to Animal Town. Like, this is really the town for animal lovers. I'm surprised they don't market it more as like an animal lover destination. And we ring in the new year with some delightful treats for ourselves. Ooh, I put this in here just for me. Because when I get a house, dude, I want to make a Kotatsu so bad. I'm gonna get all the parts to make a Kotatsu. One. So if people don't know what a Kotatsu is, it's this table right here, but it's not a normal table. It's not a table that just simply has a blanket coming out of it. In the center of that table is a heater. So when you put the blanket on, it's all warm inside because you got the hot air in there. And then you got a blanket on, and then you can sit on the floor, and then you can also eat and work, and it's very versatile. And I really, 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 really want a Kotatsu. I just really want a Kotatsu. Dude, they're so nice. They're so nice. Why don't we have them in the West? make myself a Kotatsu. Nonetheless, we have to get back to we gotta get back to the drama of the show. Gao summons what I assume is going to be kind of our last-ish round of Gao goons, this one being wolf-themed. And we actually get to see a little bit of that breaking in Zako's character development, where she tries to convince Gao. And honestly, I'm kind of on girl's side with, like, her try in this episode. Because she's like, I'm giving it my all. She says the thing that they always say for this, because, I mean, I don't know what else you're supposed to say. It's like, even if you get revenge, you won't be satisfied. You'll never be happy. Believe it or not, that doesn't work. So she ultimately resolves to carry out Gao's will because she'd rather be on his side than be an enemy. There is one cute break, too, in the way that she talks about Gao, because before she's been like, I'm in love with him, gush, gush, gush. But in this case, she more specifically says that he's my friend, which I think is important, other than, like, it taking a step back from the level of, like, romance going on. I think it's much more real for her to sit there and say that he's somebody that I deeply care about in the way that you care about a friend. Because I feel like we've had plenty of villains in the past who have sat there and been like, oh, I love our final boss dude, and it's just kind of, it's always felt very weak. I don't feel like those characters have ever, like, been light about those feelings, despite that being kind of usually a goofy, silly gimmick. But it never felt like they truly cared about that person in the way that, like, this is somebody who I have a long-term bond with, and which somebody like Zako does have, and similar to Torame. Both of them were friends with Gao and friends with the pack. Like, the pack really meant something. And that's why they're doing this, because it's more of the loss, like, these deep-rooted friendships, which a lot of the other villain groups don't have. So I love this change in her character. I do not have high hopes, though, for how things are going to go towards the end of the series, because I assume that she'll probably pass on. I think probably tragically before Gao does, and she'll probably say something along the lines of, I'm moving on, but, like, make sure you tell him, like, make sure you save him too, or something like that. I would love it if she did manage to pass on with Gao at the end of the show, because they have held on to her character longer than I thought they would, but I've got a sinking feeling that maybe she won't be able to do it. Because, I mean, she makes such a great point, because they're all of our characters are sitting here saying, like, we're all going for the same thing, we're all fighting for our friends, like, you'll be able to reach him, so maybe she will succeed. But honestly, I don't know, dude. He seems very much in a different universe mentally than where Zako is, and I don't know if she'll be able to communicate with him. But I do appreciate that they did not forget the whole Nyami and Lillian to Zako plotline that's going on here. I'm glad that that's still being called back, and the people who are genuinely making good ground in that is the second duo. Since again, Torame ended up being more of a wonderful and friendly thing. And then of course her seeing that, like, I think we still, from the episode previews, we'll still be fighting her a little bit next episode, which is kind of worth it because I think we're gonna have good Sakuga next episode. However, we do see her, you know, her resolve is not ironclad. Oh, and then we have the fight. I was kind of bummed out at how poorly they did in this fight. But also I think it's because they're saving all of the good Sakuga for the next few episodes. So they kind of had to suck a little bit in this battle. It was, the battle is incredibly underwhelming, but you know, it is what it is. We do have this one moment where Friendy does essentially what Lillian's ability does with her ribbon and like ties him up, and then they were able to get rid of him. The battle turned from being like impossible to like we solved the problem. That happened. But you know, it means very little when we're about to fight like 50 of the Gao goons instead of just having to take out one. I don't know, our team and their skill set this season has been not the most amazing, especially by this point, but because it's not a fighting-oriented season, they're not really good at it, so it makes sense. We don't have our training arc that we've had in other seasons, but I also feel like the chase sequence and the hugging and all that has really, like, gone very downhill from the beginning of the show. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I know that this is the most contentious conversation for this season, but like, the fight sequences are so, they just are so not great. If the whole point of it is like getting to the point where we can calm them down and hug them, I wish that was still what we were trying to do. And I feel like it always ends for the past 40 episodes is them getting kind of like tied up and then they make a silly face and then we use the final attack on them. It just, I don't know. I think I'm also like having these feelings because it also seems like Idol Precure the next season. is also not going to be particularly fighty either. It's kind of too soon to say much, but from the descriptions, it definitely confirms that there will be singing. And I'm just trying to take in that the fact that it's probably just going to be singing and not fighting. But that's why we have Princess Session Orchestra! I think for what we are not gonna get in Idol Precure, we're gonna get in Princess Session Orchestra. I think that's how I'm going to cope with whatever ends up happening next season. I'm trying so hard not to doom and gloom, but I really miss fighting in Precure, and I really don't like that we're gonna have 2 non-fighting seasons back to back. I'm like, oh, it's okay if you do that for 1 season, but don't do it 2 in a row. You gotta stagger that. At least we're gonna get some good Sakuga next episode, because from the few clips that they showed, it looked pretty solid, and I'm hoping that they didn't just show everything that they're going to do now and not save any for the episode. But we're in the finale. They always do better animation-wise, so even if we don't have, like, really cool fighting, we will at least have just pretty movement, period. And then we lastly have this one preview of Subaru and a wolf, which hopefully will reveal to us what's going on as we go into the finale. This is going to be a bit of a shorter episode, but that's also because it makes sense that they didn't put too much effort into this episode, given that, as I had just recently discussed, a lot of this got eclipsed by the announcement of Idol Precure, which happens every year. This particular episode usually doesn't, they try not to put too much behind it because they know that everyone is going to be very distracted by the news of Idol Precure, and by next week, we'll all have calmed down a bit. I'm going to try not to talk too much more about Idol Precure. Simply because A, at a certain point in time, if people watch this series, they'll be like, we already know what happens with Idol Precure, you're just so silly. And 2, that this is not the Idol Precure review. That will be coming soon. I have so many assets I need to make, oh my god. I've got to make so many backgrounds. But nonetheless, big excitement for the new show, and then big excitement for this finale! We are finally getting into the endgame, and we have, like, what, 3 episodes left? Ooh, are you guys ready for it to end? I'm not sure I am. I've actually really enjoyed the season. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. It's definitely very different from the way I usually love other seasons, but I've honestly enjoyed the ride. I don't think that this has been a bad one to react to. I feel like there hasn't been too many episodes where I'm like, I don't want to even review this. I've enjoyed it for the most part. So, until next time, bye-bye!